Imagine facing the most feared rugby team on the planet. A team that seems to thrive on pressure, welcomes collisions that would intimidate almost anyone else, and somehow finds another level when the match hangs in the balance. Every opponent believes they have discovered the blueprint to stop South Africa, until the opening whistle blows and that blueprint begins to fall apart. But what if the biggest weakness of the Springboks isn't hidden at all? What if the answer has been sitting in plain sight, waiting for the right team to exploit it? Today, we're diving deep into one of rugby's most fascinating tactical debates, exploring why some of the greatest coaches in the sport believe there is a way to challenge the reigning giants of world rugby, and why doing it is far more difficult than simply talking about it. Before we get into the analysis, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the Springboks are currently the most complete rugby team in the world, or is there another nation capable of knocking them off their throne? Your opinion could spark an incredible discussion as we break down every angle of this story. The Springboks have become much more than just another successful rugby team. They represent consistency, resilience, and a level of physical dominance that has forced the rest of the rugby world to rethink how the game should be played. Winning isn't simply about scoring more points than the opposition anymore. Against South Africa, it often feels like surviving the physical battle as the first victory before the scoreboard even becomes relevant. Yet rugby never stands still. Every champion eventually faces a new challenge. Every dynasty invites innovation from rivals desperate to end its reign. Following recent seasons, many analysts have noticed subtle but significant changes in how South Africa approaches the game. While their reputation has always been built on dominant scrums, aggressive defense, tactical kicking, and relentless forward play, there are growing signs that their attack has evolved into something even more dangerous. Under new attacking ideas, the Springboks appear increasingly willing to move the ball with confidence, attack wider channels, and create opportunities that weren't traditionally associated with South African rugby. Rather than abandoning their identity, they've expanded it. That evolution presents an even greater challenge to opponents. If a team could previously prepare for one version of South Africa, they now have to prepare for multiple versions. One moment the Springboks dominate through brute force. The next, they attack with pace, precision, and intelligent support running. Suddenly, defending against them becomes as much a mental challenge as a physical one. Yet despite these changes, experienced coaches continue to believe that certain truths remain unchanged. They argue that every team, no matter how dominant, still has habits that can be challenged if an opponent has the courage, discipline, and execution to do it. The real question is whether any international side can maintain that level of execution for a full 80 minutes. The conversation becomes fascinating because it isn't about criticizing the Springboks. Quite the opposite. Great coaches study greatness because they want to understand exactly why it works. Sometimes the greatest compliment you can give an opponent is acknowledging how difficult they are to disrupt. South Africa has reached that point. Opponents don't simply prepare to play rugby. They prepare to survive pressure, absorb collisions, compete in the air, and remain mentally composed when momentum inevitably swings against them. That's why beating the Springboks has become one of rugby's greatest modern challenges. One fascinating theory suggests that instead of matching South Africa physically, opponents should make them uncomfortable in entirely different ways. Rather than charging directly into powerful defenders, attackers can focus on clever footwork, changing angles, varying tempo, and forcing defenders into awkward positions. Rugby history has repeatedly shown that even the strongest defensive systems can become vulnerable when attackers refuse to play predictable rugby. It's easier said than done, of course. Executing that style requires supreme skill, confidence, and fitness. Any mistake can immediately turn into a counterattack from one of the world's best teams. Another key factor is tempo. Modern rugby increasingly rewards teams capable of making quick decisions. Fast ball movement, rapid recycling, and intelligent support running can stretch even elite defensive systems. Some experts believe maintaining relentless speed forces large forward packs into repeated defensive efforts, eventually creating opportunities around the edges. But there is enormous risk attached to playing quickly. Increase the tempo without maintaining accuracy, and turnovers become inevitable. Against South Africa, turnovers often become invitations for punishment. The Springboks rarely need many chances to shift momentum completely. This tactical chess match is what makes international rugby so compelling. Every decision carries consequences. Kick too often, and you surrender possession. Run too much, and fatigue begins to accumulate. Slow the game down, and South Africa's physical strength becomes increasingly influential. Speed the game up, and mistakes become more likely. Coaches spend countless hours searching for the perfect balance, knowing there may not actually be a perfect answer. The psychological battle deserves just as much attention as the tactical one. Great teams don't simply win because of superior talent. They develop absolute belief. Confidence spreads throughout an entire squad. Every successful defensive stand reinforces trust. Every dominant scrum strengthens collective identity. Eventually opponents begin questioning themselves before questioning the champions. That invisible psychological advantage often separates good teams from legendary ones. South Africa has mastered that aspect of elite sport. Halfway through this story, we'd love to hear from you. Which aspect of the Springboks impresses you the most? Their physicality, tactical intelligence, defense, depth, or mental toughness? Share your thoughts below because every rugby fan sees the game differently. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into rugby tactics and the stories behind the sport, consider liking the video and subscribing for more documentaries like this. Now, let's continue because the most fascinating part of this discussion is still ahead. One of South Africa's greatest advantages is depth. Elite teams often rely heavily on a handful of superstars. The Springboks have built something different. Their replacements frequently enter the match with the ability to maintain, or sometimes even increase, the intensity. That creates enormous pressure on opponents who may already be physically exhausted. Winning the first 50 minutes isn't enough. Winning the final 30 often becomes an entirely separate contest. Looking ahead, several international rivals believe they possess the ingredients necessary to challenge South Africa. Teams with creative attacking structures, athletic forwards, intelligent kicking games, and exceptional fitness may have opportunities to expose moments of vulnerability. However, opportunity alone never guarantees success. Execution under pressure remains rugby's ultimate test. That's why World Cups and major international tournaments consistently produce unforgettable drama. Every nation enters believing its preparation is enough. Only one eventually discovers that it truly was. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this debate isn't about finding weaknesses at all. It's about understanding excellence. The Springboks continue evolving because they refuse to become predictable. Successful teams don't protect old ideas simply because they once worked. They adapt, innovate, and improve while preserving the core values that made them champions in the first place. That mindset may ultimately be their greatest strength. Rugby has always been a game of constant adaptation. Every generation introduces new tactics. Every coach searches for another competitive edge. Every champion inspires someone else to raise the standard even higher. The ongoing tactical battle surrounding South Africa reminds us why the sport continues captivating millions around the world. It's never simply about strength against strength. It's intelligence against intelligence, preparation against preparation, courage against courage. And somewhere within that battle lies the next great chapter in rugby history. Whether another nation eventually discovers the perfect formula remains uncertain. What is certain is that every time the Springboks step onto the field, they challenge the rugby world to become better. That is the mark of true champions. Their story is still being written, their rivals continue searching for answers, and fans everywhere remain privileged to witness one of the greatest eras the sport has ever seen. The next whistle could begin another unforgettable chapter, another tactical masterpiece, or another reminder that greatness is never permanent, but earning the right to challenge it is one of sport's greatest achievements.